Hey guys, so in today's video we're going to be doing an upgrade that I've been wanting to do for some time but didn't know how to approach it. I've seen a lot of videos having LEDs installed underneath the fan here, and what I wanted to do is something different because I needed to focus the light underneath the nozzle. A lot of these LED kits that just bolt directly underneath the fan or fan assembly shine the light straight down but don't focus the light at the nozzle. And a recent YouTube subscriber that has now become a very good friend named Doc, his name is Doug, he came out with a pretty interesting solution for guiding the light to the proper location. So what he did is he took the duct from my Minimalist fan and added an LED to the inside of the duct. And he sent me a couple of pictures, and I thought it was a really great idea. So I decided to modify the duct to incorporate the LED. So let me show you all the different versions that I had to go through here before I finally came up with one that focused the light in the right place. So this was many different versions, trying different things to try and see if we could focus it properly. This one had too much curve. There was no way to get the bulb in there. Same thing with all of these. And finally we started to get to some that looked promising. This one worked out okay, but didn't focus the light in the right place. And so did all of these. Anyhow, now we ended up with a duct that looks like this. And I went ahead and assembled one so you guys can see what it's going to look like with the LED in it. So here it is with the LED already installed. And it's a press fit. And what we're using here for wire is some wiring that came on a fairy light kit that I had. I'll show you the kit here. So this is it here. It's kind of like a cork fairy light kit. You can pick these up on Amazon, relatively inexpensive. But Doug had a great solution. And what he sent me was some electric motor winding. And this is a great idea because this wire is insulated, and all you need to do is just take some of the insulation off either of the ends and solder it to your LED like I did here. Now this is the fairy wire, but this wire makes more sense because at least you can keep them color coded. One other thing that needs to be added, because these are 3-volt LEDs, is a resistor. So Doug sent some 1.2K ohm resistors already pre-assembled in this 3mm LED, and I'll post all the links to all the parts that I used in the video description. That way you guys can pick up these LEDs and make this yourself. I thought I'd put this slide up here to show you guys exactly how these things need to be wired. So the cathode is the side that has the larger blade inside the LED bulb. If you look at the diagram here, it's exactly how you're going to hook it up. So the negative side gets the resistor. So this is a 1.2 kilo ohm resistor, and it's 1/8 of a watt. You're going to need one on each of the cathode leads, and then you can join them together to either a 12-volt fan if you're using a 12-volt fan on your hot end. If you have the stock 24-volt fan, you're going to need to then hook it up to a buck converter to step that voltage down from 24 to 12 to drive the LEDs. I'm going to add some wire to this one that's coming out of the duct here, and then I'll show you exactly the size bit and how I finished the duct to get this to fit real nice and neat in there. So I like this wire because it doesn't occupy a lot of the space inside the duct, so it's not going to be very disruptive to the airflow. And is easy to hide. So once this thing is installed, you won't see any of these cables, at least not out the front. Now it's going to make it a little bit more challenging to replace this duct if you need to. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit of slack that I can hide behind the fan. That way if I need to service the ducts, I can just pull the slack down, unsolder the leads, and then replace the duct if I need to. And the insulation that this wire has, you just need to just kind of scrape it off. It's more of a coating than really like a piece of plastic, like a standard wire. So I'm just going around it here, trying to carefully remove, scrape it. You don't want to get too crazy because you don't want to damage the wire, but it should work right there. And you can hear my little cockatiel in the background named Chaos. And Chaos got to this cable, so I gotta cut a part of this off. So she got to it in a couple of places. Hopefully she left me a long enough piece that I can use it. Okay, yeah, right here. And what I like about this wire is it's super flexible. So I already took the rear bolt off, the rear screw off. I'm just going to take off this one side here. All right, we got one on. Let's take off the other duct. Alright guys, so the first thing we need to do once you print your duct is we need to clean it up a little bit. I had a brim on it. I took the brim off already. But these little bits of plastic, we need to get rid of those. What you can do is you can use a precision file set to get rid of them. Sometimes you can pick some of this stuff off, but you don't want to use the blue cutters on this because you could break them. So all I'm doing is just working this a little bit with a file. Just clean it up. So like this little part right here that has some plastic that's bridging across here, just use the little file and get rid of that. Only takes a few minutes. It looks good. Another thing that you want to remove is, if you look at the duct carefully from the side, there's kind of like this little bump over here where the nozzle made this turn. So just get your file, make sure that this is flat, otherwise it won't go into the fan. Looks good. Again, same thing here. See this little ridge here? You take that down. Looks good. And just take your time and make sure that all these little bits of plastic are removed. That looks good. And if you have any bits of plastic that are sticking up, you got to file those down as well. I got lucky with this side. I don't have anything like that. This side looks pretty good too. So again, if you got any of this plastic that's sticking out, just give it a quick little file. All right, let's do a test fit. So I'm just doing a quick test fit here and make sure that it goes in. And yes, it does. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm just going to use a little precision drill bit here. So this, we're going to need 2 bits. We're going to need a 1mm, which is the one that's in here. We're also going to need a 2mm. So just take your 2mm drill bit. And again, I'll link all these little tools and stuff in the description. If you guys are interested, you can pick them up. And then you just want to go slow, take your time. You don't want to put too much pressure on the tab because you don't want to break it. So just as it starts to dig in, just back out a little bit until you get it. I like to go in by both sides, on both sides. We'll do the same thing with this last one. So again, sometimes it bites right away, so just don't put a lot of pressure until it starts to go in by itself. I printed these with PETG. And I recommend that you don't use PLA on these because they're very close to the heat block. They will distort. So PETG at minimum. If you can print nylon, print them out of nylon. But that would be best. The last thing we need to do is we need to drill the hole for the cables for the LED wire. And what I'm going to use is a 1mm drill bit. And if you're using the fairy lights, it's probably going to be this size. If you're using the motor winding, it could be this size or maybe the next one up. Now what I did on the other one was I just went right here. This has kind of like a little round over. So I just went about 2 to 3 millimeters in. And then I'm drilling right on top of this little ridge here. See if I can get this thing started. And here I'm applying a little pressure because this is a small bit, but you can't get too crazy because you can break the bit. And this 1mm bit, I don't recommend you guys putting this on a drill because you'll go right through your finger. So just carefully drill it till you get it through. And really, that's all you need right there. So that's perfect. So now next thing we're going to do is fish our LED. Now what I found to be easier than doing it the way that I'm doing it is fish the wire through first, then solder the LED on it. Because if you do it this way, you're having to put the wires in from inside the duct, which is a little bit more of a pain. And then I'll have to give these a little bend so I can find the opening here on the duct. If you bend them just right, you'll be able to find the opening. So just like that. Once you get them through, just use a pair of tweezers or something and grab them. And just be patient. All right, now for this last part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a little bit of a bend here on the end so we can get the LED at the right angle to go in. Just something like that. And then once you get it in position, what you can use to push it all the way through is a piece of filament. So what I'm going to do is just grab some filament here. Make sure you have the flat end. And you're going to find the back of the LED and you're just going to push it into the sleeve. Let's try that again. Once you got it in the sleeve, that's it. All right, so now lastly would be to neaten up these cables. You can use the same piece of filament to push the cables flat up against the inside of the duct. Kind of pull them as you're straightening them out. You just don't want to use something very sharp on this, because you don't want to strip the insulation off these wires, so that there's no way that they can touch. It's pretty good there. Skewer would also work. That's pretty good right there. All right. So now I'm just going to do the same process that I did with the other one. I'm just going to cut this back and then solder some cable on it. So let me do that real quick, and then we'll install this last duct and try it out. So I had stripped off the little end here, so this is my negative lead. So I'm going to cut it right about here. One of the things on my to-do list is to make some helping hands or something so I could solder this stuff easier. Okay, one more thing I need to check before I hook this up is to make sure that the ducts don't hit. Let me plug in the printer, turn it on. All right, so it looks like we're in the clear. Perfect. All right. All right, guys. So what I did is I ran the cables behind the top part of the hot end, so they would all come up on this side. And then I left myself some slack on this side. And then on this side, I'm just going to fold the slack up in here. So if I need to get to this one, I just pull this sleeve up, and then I can pull the ducts out. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to connect these two positive leads for the LEDs to my hot end fan. So this is the heatsink fan. So that's what I'm going to do. Cut this back a little bit. I'm not going to get fancy. I'm just going to wrap these cables, because if I need to take them off in the future, I could just undo them. So here I'm just carefully stripping back a little of the cable. Alright guys, so I made a design change to this. What I did is I included a slot. So there's a 1/2 millimeter slot where before there was a hole. This will make duct removal and replacement much easier. So if you find the need that you need to replace a duct, you can just pull the wires out of there, pull the LED out, replace the duct, and then just replace the LED. You don't have to do anything with the wiring. All right, so let's, I'm going to install this last duct and then we'll test it. Alright guys, so there it is. So all the light is concentrated right underneath the tip, and during a print we should be able to see really well. So let's shoot off a test print and test it. Alright guys, so this wraps up this video. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, turn on your notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and comment. I love reading the comments. I do my best to get back to you guys as soon as possible. Special thanks to Doug O'Connor for contributing the LEDs, wire, and resistors, and coming up with this awesome solution for lighting up the nozzle instead of just underneath the fan shroud. Till next video, guys. God bless.